Dear students, today in this video we will continue the chapter Nicobobinus. Auf, said Nicobobinus, and he lay there in the pitch blackness with not a single breath left in his body. For what seemed like the whole winter, but was probably only a few seconds. He came to himself, in fact, just as a stone hit him on the head. Ouf, said Nicobobinus again, and then realized he could hear footsteps high above him. Stop, sir, he called out, but the footsteps kept on coming down. Nicobobinus lay still in the complete darkness where he was fallen. The several thoughts came into his mind. For a few seconds he thought that he was breathless, as people feel in winter. Very soon he got his senses back as a stone hit him on the head. Then suddenly Nicobobinus realized the footsteps high above him, and he asked the person to stop who was coming down. Ah, I've got you now, cried the man, and I shall beat every bone in your body until it is black and. Nicobobinus supposed the man was going to say blue, but in fact, the second word he uttered sounded more like buckfur. It was not a word with which Nicobobinus was at all familiar, but he understood its meaning perfectly and moved smartly out of the way. Crash, are you all right? He asked. There was silence. The man was so angry and told him that finally he got him, and now he should beat or break every bone in his body. And suddenly he discontinued his speech. Nicobobinus thought that the man was going to say blue after black, but the man could not speak out the next word, and the word which he uttered, Nicobobinus was not familiar with that, but he understood its meaning, that the man was in trouble, and he moved forward. Nicobobinus just heard the sudden loud noise and asked that everything was all right, but there was complete silence. Nicobobinus felt his way back in the pitch dark until his hand touched the man's leather jerkin. The man was lying still as death, but he was breathing. I must get help, said Nicobobinus to himself, and he began groping around in the blackness to find another way out. When he found it, however, his heart sank. The only exit appeared to be a narrow gap down by the floor, no more than a foot high. Nicobobinus was just walking in the complete darkness. Suddenly, his hand touched the man's leather jacket. Jerkin means jacket. It seemed that the man was dead, but he was breathing. Nicobobinus thought that he must help him and started searching in dark the other way to get out. Finally, he found the way to get out. He became happy. He got very narrow gap down by the floor, which was hardly a foot high. I can't squirm through that in the pitch dark, he said to himself. But at that very moment, he heard Rosie's cheerful voice saying, You can do it. Nicobobinus span round, and there, to his immense surprise, was nothing. No Rosie, know anybody, but I don't know if it leads anywhere, he said to the voice in the head. And it's such a tight squeeze. I must I might get stuck. Nicobobinus thought that he can't squirm. Squirm means to twist or mold the body. He cannot move through the narrow passage, which was the only exit in the darkness. But the next moment he heard Rosie's voice saying that he could do anything. Nicobobinus stretched or moved around, but to his surprise, nobody was there. Now Nicobobinus was confused whether he should get out through that way. Nicobobinus said to himself that it was a tight squeeze. Tight squeeze means a difficulty caused by too little time or space. He was knowing that it will be very difficult for him to go through that way and he might get stuck in it. He didn't hear Rosie's voice again, but he knew what it would have said, and that was how he found himself wriggling down a narrow passage of stone in the pitch black. He squirmed and he wriggled there in the black for a long, long time, and the tunnel got narrower until he could hardly inch along it. Again, Nicobobinus did not hear Rosie's voice, but now it was clear for him that what he has to do. So he wriggled himself. Wriggled means moved by twisting or molding one's body. He wriggled himself in the narrow passage in the darkness. For a long time he twisted himself, and the passage or a tunnel got narrower, and now he could hardly move along it.